It's great to be with you all once again. और हॉल भरता जा रहा है, सुबह सुबह ये देख के भी खुशी हो रही है. In keeping with the promise which we made, we will focus on the topic and try to raise the caliber of the discussion through the presence of such thought leaders on the stage. And we are going to speak about providing and communicating reassurance on range anxiety, vehicular strength, and battery safety. As in any new technology, there will be some areas of complaints. Some of them may be real, some of them may be imagined. When microwave ovens came, they were supposed to have harmful radiation. Later on, it was discovered the case is not so. Even when steel glasses came, there was very strong rumors in the market that these can cause cancer. So poor steel glass salesman, he used to go to condominiums, go to the first house, knock on their door, say, ma'am, this is the steel glass and here is a jug of water. Let me pour this water in the glass and leave it with you for the next 1 hour. And go do that with every every home in the neighborhood. Then come back to the first and drink it just to demonstrate that the steel glass was safe. Imagine how much of drinking of water he would have had to do. So these were imagined objections. There are real objections also which come in a new technology. When the fridge came, it used to explode. The biggest boon to fight hunger was the fridge, because it made sure that the food doesn't spoil. But it used to explode. Then Freon came and then it was okay. When electricity came, a lot of people got electrocuted. But what a boon it has been. When the washing machine came, that time there used to be no sockets, no switches. The bulb was the predecessor of washing machine. So the access of any appliance was through the socket. So you had to hook the wire of the washing machine to the socket. And that's how it used to go on. Ladies used to lose their hair because the moment you do that, there is no, it immediately starts twirling and their hair used to get cut. Or they used to lose their hair. There was a big issue on that. Then improvements came. And then washing machine has also been a deliverer from menial labor. And similarly in the automobile sector also, which I will come to. So, having said this context, I would now like to ask Mr. Misra, who is a pioneer in the electric vehicle, electric mobility space, as to what are the common complaints which you are witnessing on two-wheelers in battery safety, vehicular strength, and range anxiety. Mishra ji.
Thank you. First of all, good morning. I'm really happy and surprised to see the people from Delhi and Gurgaon coming so early in this train. That's what the discussion we had. Aren't we starting too early? But I think early is better, otherwise the toll gate jam will not allow you to reach here. So I made sure my driver told me, sir, cross it before 8:30. Otherwise you won't be able to cross. So anyway, so happy to see you all here. I think, first of all, I would like to thank that you picked up a topic which is actually addressing the concern of the people. Adoption will happen only if people's concerns are, because everybody now understood that EV is good, both in terms of the ownership and what it does good to your pocket as well as to the environment. Now, I'll take all three issues which you mentioned. let's start with range anxiety. I think this is, yes, it's anxiety. Petrol pumps are every 2 kilometers maybe. But how many times you fill the petrol? On average, I know some people will just fill 1 liter and go, and because they don't have that kind of money, but usually once you fill, and depending on what kind of use case you have, you don't go to petrol pump every day. Now there are bikes and with batteries which can go anywhere between 60 to 100, 120 kilometers. Now if you're a commuter for a short commute from your office to home or from little bit errands, the scooter which is there available today at a reasonable price is perfectly all right with you. And you are living in an apartment or you are living in a house where there is a socket where you can charge, you don't have to worry and depend upon the public charging infrastructure. There's a lot has been said about public charging infrastructure. I think for an individual user, public charging infrastructure is not going to do much. How often are you going to stop on the way to your office to charge your car for 2 hours or even 15 minutes? People are not reaching office just in time, and now on the way you're not going to charge your car. Of course, if you're going from here to Mussoorie or from here to Lucknow, certainly electric car is not the option. But if you are living in Gurgaon, you want to use car or a scooter, range anxiety is not an anxiety at all. As long as you have a plug available to you in your apartment complex or in your office or in your home, which is happening, increasingly. The other use case, that's why individual, and I think most of the companies, I believe, a little bit wrongly are focusing on individual user. Individual user is the most difficult customer for you. Because individual user is going to look at all positives, only then he is going to change from ICE to, why will suddenly leave some Bajaj Splendor or Hero something and go to Okinawa or Hero Electric or whatever. He has no reason. I'm sure he is worried about the environment. Maybe Earth will have a problem in 50 years or 20 years, but that's not his decision matrix. His decision matrix is the same bike I can take 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, go to visit my uncle or whatever. Who are the low-hanging fruit? I think these are the aggregators. And which are being neglected. No company in India is focusing on making the vehicles which will be used for aggregators. They are delivery guys. They have a very different use case. They use bike very heavily every day, 100 to 150 kilometers. This has to be sturdy, it has to be swappable, and it has to be cheap. And I'll come to that, why that's important. That's about range anxiety. About battery safety. I don't know many of you are aware which is the best electric company which everybody would like to have. I don't think I have to tell the name. Start with T. Correct? Tesla. I don't know if you guys just Google Tesla on fire. You'll get at least 20 videos. Tesla's burning on highways in US. And Tesla almost had the best resources and technology, and till today they have it. Battery was their Achilles heel. They tried, there is a book on Elon Musk. Please read that. Making of Tesla. Which will tell you, till they managed to convince Panasonic of Japan. And it took 6 years for him to convince. Despite having an American who had a deep Japanese connection, because Japan does not work with you just because you have money. They work with you only if they like you, they want relationship. It took 6 years for him to convince Panasonic to supply them batteries and cells. And of course, they improved upon it. India, we don't even make cells. We somehow buy cells from somewhere. And by the way, Japanese don't even have the capacity to supply to us. The quality of cells we used to get in India were very poor. Wherever we got the supply, we got from. And mostly it came from China. And then you have to pack them. And there's a huge technology advancement needed to pack them rightly. Because these are just energy in a very dense format. It is the bomb in a battery. That's what it is. Obviously, there will be some mishaps. Now, will that stop people? Yes, it worry people. But then, I think Ms. Sinha is here. The government has intervened very appropriately and very timely. Yesterday I was another panel discussion where Mr. Gadkari was there in the panel. And he said, no, we are not going to ban the industry. We are not going to penalize people. We are not going to make them look criminals. Yes, if there has been mishandling, if there has been issues of negligence, we'll warn them. It's early on because we don't want to kill the industry. But then once we give you specifications, please follow them. So I don't know if many of you are aware, if you are from industry, there was AIS 48. That was standard, only standard available for batteries, which is not good enough. Now they have come with AIS 256. We in YULU were ready with 20,000 vehicles to be deployed in July. Got delayed because the battery supplier said that government regulation has come, and letter went to every manufacturer from the government. Do not come out unless you comply with this. It was very nice and timely intervention, and that will take care. Will it stop every battery fire? No. Maybe there will still be some. But it's improving. But what government is doing, what industry is following, I think is a very good thing. That's your second point. Range anxiety, the battery safety. Third is vehicular strength. Yes. What happened? India has now 250 or maybe 1,000 EV two-wheeler manufacturers. That's what I hear. How can there be? How many IC manufacturers are in India of repute? 3 or 4? Scooter, motorcycle manufacturers, maybe 4 or 5. How come they're not 1,000? Because manufacturing anything takes years of expertise, capital, knowledge, and the care for quality. If the 1,000 people are making scooters, you just think, people think it's a mobile phone. Or not a mobile phone. We don't make mobile phone by 1,000 companies. People think it's a toy. Electric two-wheelers have become toys. They're not toys. They're very complicated, sophisticated machines. And unfortunately, those components are not made in India. So-called 1,000 manufacturers are actually getting these parts from same 3 or 4 guys in China. The cheapest, easiest available parts. And they're just putting it together and they're calling themselves manufacturers. Obviously, they will disappear over a period of time. Only people of repute will stay. Right now, whatever manufacturing happening in India, lot of it is being indigenized. And there are some inherent issues. I said cell. India doesn't make any, there's no ACC chemistry cells here. Now PLI has come. We don't make even chips. So no IoT, no chips, even the motors, there are only two, the motor train and the controller. None of it is made in India. Now Bosch is doing, some other companies are doing. Unless you get these products from reputed companies like you do for your car, like you do for ICE, you will have those issues. And any companies which have been doing this for long years, and anybody who's putting, the new generation also putting a lot of money and energy and technology into it, they will do a good job. So I think you have to be careful from whom you're buying.
Yeah. A very good point. In fact, it was also somewhat heartening for me to know that we are even more finicky than the Japanese, because Elon Musk could finally quote the Japanese after 6 years of pursuit, but he has not still been able to quote Indians. So we are somewhere more finicky. That's great. And the serious point which you made is that the partnerships with reliable legacy companies is very important to provide the assurance of safety. Also, somewhere you alluded that this is not a gadget or a toy. It's not a mobile phone which stays stationary. It goes on the road and handles all the bumps on the Indian roads. So it has to, the expectations of quality go up.
And one more thing, which I think since manufacturers, both Okinawa and Naveen is not here, and which they mention, I must tell you, most of people think it's a gadget. It doesn't need to be serviced. They go only when it is burns or when it breaks. Like your car, you have you don't have to wait for the 5,000 kilometer service, 10,000 kilometer service. Similarly for the bikes, IC engine. Electric vehicles also need servicing. So if you go on regular interval, get serviced, you will not have a mishap. So that's another thing which came up pre-discussions, and since they are not here, I'm putting that hat and telling you, electric vehicles also will need servicing. Please go and get them serviced from the manufacturer from where you bought it. If you don't, then it'll break down someday. And then we'll say, oh, it's because electric vehicle it broke down.
Correct, absolutely. So, on that note, let me go to Sinha Saab and ask him as to what kind of a customer education or a public awareness campaign is required so that electric vehicles are used in a manner that they prove to be safer. And is the government doing something on this already, Sinha Saab?
Thank you. At the onset, let me first congratulate Blue Circle and their partner Log9 for organizing it. And of course, all the themes that I have seen, they are perfectly, they are the best of the class. The initial intervention by Siddharth, and then the presentation by the knowledge partner, that has also been really outstanding. I must congratulate them because they have highlighted some of the most significant issues, and they have also attempted to come at a solution. And to Mr. Choudary, yes, initially you said that how the journey of automobile has been. In fact, I wish I would have been a partner at that time with you, and I would have told the audience that in fact during that course of journey, twice EV was almost adopted. But it was dropped because number one, EV was not pushing itself that aggressively, and number two, that was the time when General Motors, they evolved themselves and they came out with solutions. New oil fields were discovered. The prices of EV was found to be very, very extremely high as compared to the ICE vehicles, and that is why, the journey could not be taken forward. It was only in the late 70s that the EV thing again started, and that is where we are today. And Mr. Misra rightly mentioned about so many things, that how precisely a technology should move on, how precisely, the quality standards are embedded into a new innovation. Now there is something called, you mentioned about the hair carrying machines and things like that. There is something called technology readiness level. So you test a technology in a lab and say that the readiness level is 8 or 9. Then you say, okay, now it is fit, we can take it out for a rollout. We can go in for pilots. That is one piece. The another piece is, which is equally important, that is readiness for technology level. Readiness for technology. That is precisely what the awareness thing is. Now let me tell you that any of the initiative with respect to bringing about global disruption into India, and this is definitely one of the most significant global disruption ever, this electric mobility. So in any of such piece, in any of such a disruption, awareness becomes most significant. Let me tell you, it starts with awareness. So when I was in the company of Transport for London last year, and I raised the question that how come you take such drastic decisions that from such and such cutoff date, say 2025, there will be no fossil fuel vehicle plying in London. How do you take such drastic decisions? They said, these decisions are not taken overnight. They work for years together. It was some 6-7 years of hard work that they put in. They talked to all the stakeholders. They went into the community leaders. They talked to each and every residential areas, automobile and manufacturers, users, convinced them that this is what is needed for the very survival of London. And that is how they have come to a stage when they say that, okay, this is how we are going to do it. As far as, these days some complaints with respect to vehicles, special segment of vehicle is there. Yes, it is coming. Definitely, in fact, yesterday only I explained in this hotel only that there must be something wrong either in the design stage or in the assembly and checking stage or at the level of user. So at one of these stages only there can be an error. By error is meant that the factor of safety which was embedded was not adequate or it did not operate at the right time. So the system ought to be fail-safe. If it fails, it should fail to the safe side. So if the problem is so aggravating that an incident of fire can take place, then the system must close down. The vehicle must be immobilized. But it should not eventually translate itself to that stage, to that detrimental stage. So that is there. But yes, awareness is again an important piece, and we have raised this issue with the OEMs. OEMs are, of course, in addition to so many initiatives that they are taking with respect to kind of revisiting the safety standards, strengthening their check-in and final check-in procedure. They are also working out that how better awareness, better education to the users can bring about higher factor of safety. Yes.
Excellent points, Sinha. Actually, you really homed in on whatever both of us presented and took it further. So, coming to Nikhil Bhatia, Mr. Nikhil, the points which have been made so far. The first point which was made by Mr. Sinha was the fact that design, manufacture and use all these spaces can have problems. Design and manufacture we have spoken about. The use piece, how we can ensure that the user also knows technicalities. The point which he made was fail-safe. Fail-safe, I was reminded of the lifts. Lifts have this failure-safe mechanism that if they go into a free fall, they stop at the next floor automatically. Something swings in as a lever to hold them there. That means no further damage. However, batteries are supposed to carry the latent charge which can re-spark a fire. Point number one. Point number two, let us come to other vehicles. In some other vehicles, because of the fact that the strengthening of the steel happens at certain junctions in electric vehicles, the people who are the rescuers should know how to get into the vehicle when it is on fire. Even the noiselessness of electric vehicles can become a matter which should be brought to the awareness of the user that, or even the rescuer, that if it is noiseless, still you check whether it is turned off or not. Otherwise, it might be on and you are trying to handle the issue. So how, in your opinion, as one of the leading two-wheeler manufacturers, you will be able to educate your customer to handle any such eventuality by proper use and also be ready for crisis management? Nikhil.
So I'll start with a quick background of the journey, right? All of the questions put across right now, they've been part of our learning while we were working throughout last 3 years, right? We came from energy background and then we were looking at everything from battery perspective and charging perspective. We started developing our first generation battery swapping systems. And during that course, this was pre-COVID, right? We integrated our batteries and trial with multiple scooters, and all of us know that usual things are imports, right? And then that is the place when we realized that, okay, even if I make a very expensive battery with all the fail-safe mechanisms, right, it has to be a complete vehicle ecosystem has to be taken care of. It is not isolate, either the battery is safe or the vehicle is safe. It is not, two things do not stand independent of each other. They are both together, right? And that is what we learned while we were running. We had 40, 50 scooters running with Swiggy Zomato riders on swapping batteries. And then we realized, okay, we need to backward integrate and figure out the entire vehicle ecosystem. When we shipped the first lot, right, we said, okay, if everybody else is doing it, let us just get few vehicles and see how it performs, what it does, and understand all of that. We realized these products are not designed for Indian ecosystem, right? We have got, so I've got products from European market, I've got products from Chinese market, specifically two-wheelers that we've been testing. And we realized, okay, the European products are expensive, well-designed, again, but small example, their suspensions are softer, Why? Because their roads are much flatter, right? And here on the other side, our roads are bumpier. Our roads, cities is fine, right? Moment you step out of cities, the roads are not the same, right? So suspensions need to be were a critical problem area, right? The brakes were a critical problem area, and that is where we realized it is important for us to go back to the legacy OEM component manufacturers to source those critical components, right? Because they have got 30 years of experience, 40 years of experience in shipping out those products, right? It is better if I piggyback on their expertise and learn from them and work and co-develop items with them, right? From the powertrain perspective, right, we were trying to understand cells and the batteries and the BMS for last almost 4 years, right? And figuring out what works, what does not works. Small example, so we have shipped about, in last 12 odd months, we have opened about 140 retail stores, right? And we have shipped close to 7,000 low-speed scooters. We were using LFP batteries because it came to our notice that, okay, these are safer batteries. But then we realized LFP gives a very particular characteristic where you do not know when the battery will go down, right? Like you will see there is certain voltages still being shown, but immediately the scooter will stop working, right? Because that is a characteristic of the chemistry, right? The curve goes like this and then it drops down, right? To make it predictable, so when you said range, right? We have to make it predictable for the consumers, right? Next logical solution was, okay, let us go to CAN-based system because there we can set up compute, we can make algorithms, and then we can show the exact information on the screen. That changes the cost of the vehicle, right? Because the moment I go to a connected architecture, right, it completely changes the cost of the system. So there were multiple layers of problems that we faced during our journey. And then during the course, so we are about to launch electric motorcycle, right? It is, when we decided to work on it, idea was how do we make a everyday motorcycle, right? That every consumer can use for a day use. We worked with the best suppliers of traditional automotive industry for our chassis, for batteries, for motors, for control, for suspensions, right, for the critical parts that are essential for safety. And then the powertrain and the core components from the electronics and architecture, we took the charge on our own selves, right? Even if we are we'll be shipping out an entry-level product, right? Still the entire ecosystem is CAN operated because we wanted to solve the predictability. Right? If the screen says 80 kilometers to go, it should go 80 kilometers, right? There are 132 sensor points that are shown on the screen, right? When you said user experience, in my understanding, changing users' behavior radically is very tough, right? They have got like a person riding an Activa for last 30 years, right? He's used to it. So they understand how the vehicle functions. They understand all of it. We realized, you mentioned one very small question, right? Noiselessness, right? You're standing in standstill. It has happened with us. I'm sitting on a bike. Somebody comes and runs the throttle, right? And the bike moves forward. What do you do in that case? So then these things can be solved by technology, right? Now, we have got an auto cutoff. If there is a bike standing idle for 5 seconds, it will cut off, right? You'll have to press a button to reinitiate, to reignite it. About this noiselessness, government is anyhow coming out with a regulation on the noise, but we, on the priority, worked on fitting 2 speakers to the system, right? So that people can actually create noise wherever it is required. So changing behavior is very tough. Either we can one-up their experience or meet them at par. That is essential. EV needs to travel that curve right now, right? So that is very essential. So, and awareness, I think so video is a very strong medium right now, right? Social media and video is a very strong medium right now. We started a series called Know Your Scooter. Purely, and it is as simple as that, telling people, okay, this button does this button does this button does this. Right? So these are all multiple factors, and awareness is not just to consumer, to social media, to company, it is also to our service partners, to our dealers, to our franchisee partners, right? They all need to be educated through the process.
Very good. Excellent additions. In fact, you're saying that vehicular strength also has to be calibrated depending on Indian conditions, as you said.
Yeah.
Then you said that you're adding to the dialogue. What Rajendra ji said, that go and partner with credible legacy companies. You are saying also increase your own credibility. How do I increase my own credibility? I prove that whatever I am claiming 80 kilometers to one charge is actually validated, and it will happen time after time over the age of the battery, that I do.
See,
So
consistency of information has to be there, right? If my battery is degrading over next 5 years and the range is dropping down from 150 to 120, screen needs to tell that.
you have to
Right?
tell
The
that.
system needs to tell that, okay, this is the range available with you. Now it is the time for you to change the battery or do something else.
Yeah, and you said that sometimes awareness is the answer, and sometimes you can foreclose the necessity to make people aware through a technological breakthrough like the cutoff after 5 seconds which you found. And you have also said that changing user behavior is tough. We have to float the ideas on the tides which are running in the consumer's mind in a manner which is compatible to his current level of awareness.
That's what, like either we match the current experience or one up it, right? We cannot tell them, this is where you are, this is where your learnings need to start from, right? So up till here, we need to solve by technology, and then it is marketing, communication, and all of that.
Absolutely. So both the engines, the technology engine and the marketing, communication, PR engine have to work simultaneously. And that's
one more engine is needed.
please बताइए बताइए.
देखिए, technology is an enabler. Technology will solve the problem when we understood the problem. तो आपको पता ही नहीं है प्रॉब्लम क्या है तो सॉल्व क्या करेंगे. जैसे हमने बोला कि अब सॉरी दिल्ली है तो थोड़ा बहुत हिंदी लोग समझते हैं ना.
बिल्कुल हिंदी.
ठीक है.
I hope everybody understands Hindi here. So we have several people from South, I can see, but I hope everybody understands.
हमारे साउथ के दोस्त अगर दिल्ली में रहे तो हिंदी तो जानते हैं.
बिल्कुल, बॉलीवुड ने सबको सिखा दिया है.
नहीं, I'll try to mix and match. See, I'll tell you, we partner with Bajaj, and I think one of the most respected names in this country in two-wheelers, and they have a history of Hamara Bajaj, which is like, when I was very young, when you has to book a Bajaj when the girl was born, so that you can get it for the marriage. 15, 17 years we used to be I don't know, all the kids here won't know. See, but to our surprise, Bajaj has absolutely no clue what is going to happen when they make something on the ground. How will they know? They have not made electric scooter ever, correct? They made Chetak, which is electric Chetak, which is just coming out in the market. So you'll be surprised that YULU did a lot of R&D, what happens on the ground with our first generation vehicles, where a lot of things which we designed in-house got manufactured, assembled by Bajaj. So YULU has done almost 4 crore kilometer of electric biking. We have done around 30 lakh battery swaps. I'm surprised that previous Abhishek's presentation mentioned about Sun Mobility and Bounce Infinity on swapping. The YULU was not mentioned. Why? You don't know about YULU, or just YULU doesn't do enough PR? We are country's largest battery swapping charging infrastructure with 30 lakh battery swaps, with 25,000 vehicles. One company which has a knowledge base of so much. So if you're making a report, please do a little bit more homework and get the data. How much Bounce Infinity has done? They don't even have scooters on the road. Correct? Nothing to go against them. I'm just telling, when you're putting an industry level white paper, it should have the data from the ground up. This is the data, and he mentioned about the CAN protocol. CAN protocol has been there for all the vehicles, the high-end vehicles. A lot of communication goes from the different sensors in YULU vehicle. If it is standing at 30 degrees, sensor will tell it's standing at 30 degrees. When it falls on the road, it will tell it's fallen. These are very simple sensors. But then, the most complicated thing, if I have my own scooter, I will take very good care of it. But YULU vehicles are kept on the road. You throw a pin on the road, somebody will just steal it. All our vehicles are on the road, in the middle of the night, in the rain, in the sun, and those vehicles have survived. That has given a lot of data, what works, what doesn't work. Initially, we got vehicles without the shockers. Luckily, it was only 2,000 vehicles. And all our users, they had a back issue. Because we thought a small vehicle goes only at 25 kilometers, should not have problem. But our roads are even more beautiful. You said smooth roads, I don't think you have come to Bangalore. Please come to Bangalore. Bangalore has no roads, essentially only potholes. When I come to Delhi, one of the pleasure is that having nice roads. By the way, yesterday I got stuck in water though. Oh, it's crazy. 20-minute rain, your infrastructure goes. So I think it's a technology, to your point, Nikhil, but the experience, because this will take time. More vehicles you run on the road, you learn more. So technology with the real life on the ground experience, and ours are delivery boys. They are like roughest users you can get. That input when it goes to the manufacturers. So to all manufacturers, the request is don't chase the individual owner. ये पवन नहीं खरीदेंगे स्कूटर आपका पहले. ये सब ठोक बजा लेंगे पहले कि बेस्ट स्कूटर कौन है. वो 5 साल बाद पता चलेगा, तब भी खरीदेंगे. लेकिन स्विगी और जोमेटो का जो डिलीवरी वाला है उसका लाइवलीहुड है ये, क्योंकि पेट्रोल अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता वो. पेट्रोल अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता, बाइक खरीद नहीं सकता, क्योंकि वो उड़ीसा, उत्तराखंड या नोएडा कहीं से आया है. वो सिक्योरिटी गार्ड था, दिन भर बैठा रहता था, सोता रहता था या काम करता था. अभी सडनली उसको मिल गया कि यार ये तो गिग इकॉनमी है, गिग इकॉनमी आई कैन गेट 20,000 रुपीज़. गार्ड को 12,000 मिलता है, मुझे करना ये. सडनली इसे अभी लेकिन बाइक नहीं खरीद सकता. अगर बाइक खरीद रहा होता सकता तो फिर गार्ड कैसे बनता. ऐसे 3 करोड़ लोग हैं इस कंट्री में. उनको बाइक आप दे रहे हैं ऑन अ डेली 200 रुपीज़. एंड विद दिस 200 रुपीज़ उनमें चार्जिंग इंक्लूडेड है. Bangalore, around 40% delivery happens on YULU bikes. And you see, go on the YouTube and just put YULU delivery, it will say like zillions, and they make the videos. They tell their people कि भाई ऐसे करो, ये करो. They are our biggest teachers. We learn from them what's happening in our vehicle, and that goes into it, and that will give the confidence. Seminars, these reports, all are very good because they're at a technology and R&D level. But the real R&D happens on Indian roads. And I think that should not be overlooked.
Mr. Sir,
very good point.
We are working on a vehicle for you.
In fact, some misses allow us to make bigger hits. So the miss by Alvarez and Marcel of not mentioning YULU allowed Rajendra to give a bigger hit.
No, not really. In fact, I'll tell you why. I think we do not advertise ourselves as a charging and swapping company. Why? Because ours is all in-house. We only do charging and swapping for YULU. So not your mistake. But given that you are a consulting are supposed to be doing a little bit of market research. That's why I mentioned. To a marketing company, I will not mention. Because they market what is available in the market. Ours is available only to us, not to the market.
No. All reports should be extremely fair and thorough. And that is the thing which we go by. And I find very fair and very thorough sections in the report. And this miss, I'm sure with Siddharth will. Yeah. No, it's a hit. It's a hit. So, coming to what brings this resistance to innovation. Consumer resistance to innovation depends on degree of discontinuity, which or change the innovation is bringing. For example, from the rotary phone to the push button phone, the degree of change is very limited. It will be easily accepted. But when the degree of change is higher, then consumer resistance will come. Also, sometimes consumer resistance comes because of conflict in the consumer's belief structure. But we are not touching that. Among the various barriers which we have, 2 of the barriers I would like all of you to comment on as to how we can handle these barriers through our communication, because the technology side has been discussed. One is the usage barrier, where because of the fact that the charging infrastructure, etc., is required, how that barrier can be overcome and the other is the physical risk barrier, the barrier which is provided by let us say, battery explosion sometimes, or poor vehicular strength. In fact, I would first like to ask Mr. Sinha that what is the role of the incumbent in the expression of barriers? Because there have been studies that whenever there is a strong incumbent, somehow the expression of barrier across industries is strong against new technologies. What is the role of the incumbent, if you can express in whatever words you are comfortable with, Sinha Saab?
Please make me understand the question a little more.
So Olson is a great thinker, economist. He says that stable societies lead to emergence of pressure groups. These pressure groups then become some kind of a little barrier. They can become a barrier to new technology. For example, coffee took 300 years to be accepted because beer was there, because also it was not supported by the political establishment, because the political establishment thought that coffee shops will become the new spaces where rebellious talks will start generating. So it took 300 years. Incumbents were the political operators and the beer and the other liquor industries. So here the incumbent is surely the IC vehicle. So how, first of all, how much of the expression of barriers also gets catalyzed because of incumbents, and how to include the incumbents in the ongoing growth so that they are more relaxed with the entry of electric vehicles and think that they also might have an even more attractive future in this space.
Yes. Now it's clear to me. You see, what happens is that whenever a disruption of this magnitude, for example, electric vehicles and others are also there, whenever such disruption comes, definitely it brings about a lot of changes in the existing structures, be it business, be it policy paradigm, be it behavior, consumer behavior, everywhere there is a change. Now, today the best part is that the new India, the present generation, they are ready to experiment and go by a change. Of course, they need enablers. For any disruption, you have to identify that what are the elements of that ecosystem. For example, if electric mobility is there, then okay, how to create the demand is one of the elements. How to support the manufacturing is another element. There are so many elements are there. And all elements, you have to push them together, being from the government, if I might say, that all the entire structure has to be taken forward, then only such disruptions can continue to be in India. Now, of course, you see for yourself that what government initiatives are there, you know all the flagship schemes in demand, what is the FAME scheme and what are the PLI schemes, what is the aspiration of the government. You know, the grand design is very clear. The grand aspiration of the country that is expressed through government's pronouncements, government's policies, and so many of them, it is very clear. We want to adopt this disruption, that is A, and bigger than that, we want to be the manufacturing hub of the world, as simple as that. We want to be an exporter nation as far as EV, the components, the batteries are concerned. Now, to achieve that aspiration, it is important that, number one, the quality standards have to be absolutely top class, globally the best. Number two, our business must have control over the supply chain as far as possible. And number three, it has to be embedded into ethics. That is precisely what the aspiration of government is, that India should be, we want to be the world's best. And I'm watching this traction in EV spectrum, at least to start with. You know, 2.5, 3 years ago, whenever I used to go to international conferences, I always used to be on the last bench, unrecognized, that okay, I'm a representative, fair enough, that much respect and recognition could be there, that is all. Now, in these 2.5 to 3 years, the paradigm has changed. Because, you know, we could realize in government that whatever flagship schemes are there all over the world, you see, you name the scheme, you will find that at the core of it, Indians are there. Indian talent is there, Indian skill is there. Some IITians are there, some IIM people are there. That you will, in most of the cases, you will see for yourself that the top management is led by Indians. So you realize that, okay, and in many cases you see, for example, some of the, if I can borrow expression from other infrastructure sectors, building information modeling, 30% of the global work is done in India from Bangalore. So those kind of understanding came that, okay, that is the skill pool, that is the talent that we have. Then we can as well do it, as simple as that. And these 3 years in electric mobility, what a phenomenal position it has changed, I can't tell you. Our problem is, we do not have the confidence till it is ratified by an external. So somebody has to say, we don't have confidence on our children until the neighbor says that your children is exceptionally well. You keep on always telling him, pushing him hard, देखिए उनका बच्चा कि शर्मा साहब का बच्चा कितना अच्छा. So no, he has to prove. So when Sharma Sahab comes and tells कि ना आपका बच्चा तो और भी बढ़िया है, then थोड़ा सा लगता है कुछ, there is some change.
Absolutely.
So that ratification is realized. You see, that ratification is required. Today it is there. Let me tell you, no international conference on electric mobility worth it, the best of the best, happens without our presence. And there is no international initiative is going on where India is not a co-chair. You know, from that 3 years ago, that last stage to seat number 1, this is the transformation that has taken place. I would have gone and told you the statistics, it's fabulous. We are mentioning about two-wheelers. Last year, say around 14 months back, in FAME 2, by that time we had supported 35,000 vehicles only. Today, that support has gone up from 35,000 to 4,40,000. 4,44,000 was the today's score. You can see the dashboard. From 35,000, you move on to close to 4.5 lakh, 15 times escalation is there. This is how the progress is. The reason is why it is that these people, they look for India, because they know that India is the only country in the world that is taking it in a structured manner. This electric mobility is being pushed forward in a structured manner, number one. Number two, it is at the fastest pace. I can compare, I have gone through they always say, doctors always say, that when a patient starts complaining of pain, idhar dard ho raha hai, udhar dard ho raha hai, udhar dard ho raha hai. Some patients are like that. The doctors will say, दूसरे को देखिए. तो धीरे धीरे क्या होता है, वो patient दूसरे से पूछने लगता है, तुम्हारा क्या हाल चाल है? And he develops another kind of ecosystem. So when I went and through the EV journey of different countries, some 17 European countries, the best of the best, then I realized that none of these countries have done something exceptional. All of them had failures, all of them had such problems. Mr. Misra so nicely mentioned that even Tesla had fire on the highways. So all those things, that is a part of growing up. The only thing is how fast, you don't get deterred by such incidents. Precisely that is what India is pushing it forward to. And that is the reason why the world is singing us for. In number of ZFTC, for example, all the international now, from those 3 years before story and today, the difference is there. Because they know that we are going to do it. Yesterday, 16:30, we signed an agreement. It was a letter of agreement that we gave to the PLI partners who are going to take a PLI advanced chemistry cell. India will be rolling out, of course, advanced chemistry cell is manufactured today also, but the mass scale advanced chemistry cell would be available in 2024-25. And I told those partners, we are supporting, government is supporting them with 18,100 crore rupees. And for 50 gigawatt, when we had started this journey 1 year back, for 50 gigawatt, even our seniors in government used to say that you will not get takers for 10 gigawatt. You want to bring about and support an industry of 50 gigawatt. When finally the bids were opened, we got support for 130 gigawatt. As against 50, 130, that was the choice available. So I told these partners, I told them, the best of them, the Reliance was there, Ola was there, and then Rajesh was there. So I told them that you hold this 18,100 crore rupees in trust with you. This is taxpayers' money. It is in trust with you. With this money, you should be able to leverage it so big that tomorrow, when the world requires advanced chemistry cell, they should be looking towards you. That was the reason why we just did not compromise on the quality standards of these batteries. A lot of pressures, Those countries which otherwise are supposed to be quality conscious, they want to enter our ecosystem and they want to pressurize us to droop down our standards so that their quality standards, so that they can get the support. We simply said no. It cannot be. Otherwise, it will be make in India, use in India, and throw in India. That is not the approach is. Our product has to be world's globally best. It has to be an object of desire for the world. That is what the aspiration of the country is, and that is what the commitment of the country is. Thank you.
Oh, great, fantastic. I think, first of all, it was very gratifying to hear in such graphic detail how India is coming to a geo-commercial sweet spot, and not only a geo-commercial sweet spot, a geo-intellectual sweet spot. That means we are at the head of the table. It's fantastic. That's really very geostrategic, geopolitical sweet spot. And it's a long time coming, and it was long due and awaited. Fantastic. The other point which you are saying is that we are also invoking the industry that please hold this amount in custody as a trustee of taxpayers' money, so that it really helps you scale up to that level and in a very ethical manner. That's fantastic. And making that demand also clarifies that the administration itself is in it only for public good and not for any other motives. Fantastic. On the point that this 130 gigawatt, etc., I was just reminded when you were saying that how the US administration, for example, when they wanted to phase out chlorofluorocarbons, they realized companies like DuPont, etc., will be affected when we phase out chlorofluorocarbons. So they identified the potential losers and brought them on the winning table by giving them grants, etc., to find substitutes for chlorofluorocarbons. If something like that also can be done, we will start getting even greater support from the incumbent for this space. Before I open the discussion to the rest of the group, open the house for discussion, let me ask you, is there any point, because Sinha Saab is speaking not like a government functionary, but he is speaking very openly. He is saying that if we keep getting some information where this needs to be tweaked or that needs to be tweaked, without taking it as unduly alarming, we are bringing remedies for those things also. So is there currently something which you would like to represent from the industry side to Sinha Saab before we open the house for questions?
Of course, we keep interacting with Mr. Sinha. First of all, having somebody like Mr. Sinha in the government itself shows the government wants to actually do it right. So that's, I think, because people like him are not very common to find in government. He has said so passionately, he went to Europe, and he was not going there for a joy trip. He was actually going there, representing India, learn from them and realizing what they are doing is no great innovation which we can't do. And I think that's what true academic, true, I think, the patriot, that kind of image I get of Mr. Sinha, and I'm very impressed. I had interaction with him almost a year ago, and since then. But government also has blind spots. You know blind spot? वो मिरर साइड में देखो तो जो सबसे नज़दीक चीज़ होती है वो दिखती नहीं है, उसको ब्लाइंड स्पॉट बोलते हैं. कार में कभी देखे पीछे का दिखेगा, लेकिन जो बिल्कुल बगल में कार वो नहीं दिखती है. गवर्नमेंट में कभी कभी ब्लाइंड स्पॉट होते हैं. और जो आपने बताया कि इंडस्ट्री में जो कंपटीशन वाले जो होते हैं, इनकम्बेंट होते हैं, पहले जो गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम फेम आई थी तो उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि बाइक बहुत तेज जानी चाहिए, उसी को सब्सिडी मिलेगी. उसका मोटर 2 किलोवाट से ऊपर होना चाहिए, उसी को सब्सिडी मिलेगी. हम कोई रेसिंग प्रमोट कर रहे थे क्या? आई थिंक इट इज लैक ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. हु इज गोइंग टू यूज दीज बाइक मोस्ट and who will buy them in bulk? Companies like YULU, because you buy one, I have ordered 1 lakh, not available because there's no chip, no battery available in the world. There was nothing thought about aggregators. And they are the ones who will actually change it. The policy was for the individual user, because that time, I think before COVID, government did not even understand what will be the use of two-wheeler, but then suddenly COVID came and delivery economy became so prominent, because if people could not move, goods have to move, correct? If you are in lockdown inside your house, food has to come. So industry understood. Swiggy and Zomato became very big. Likes of YULU and others started supplying these bikes to the delivery guys. And by the way, nowadays, you know this 10-minute delivery? I don't know why somebody will order grocery in 10 minutes, I don't understand. But looks like young people want to order just in time. But then police is very worried. Now you give them a bike which can go 100 kilometers and tell the guy you have to reach in 8 minutes, you know what will happen. He might reach, but some other people might be on the way, which will be knocked down. So every police department, traffic police is worried that please don't do this 10 kilometers because you are putting pressure on the guy, the delivery guy. But then we already had a solution. Government of India's notification said there is a bike which goes only up to 25 kilometers. Motor is only this much capacity. Do not require license. Do not require registration. Do not require helmet. That will be the most adopted because that is cheap. And then it doesn't kill anybody when it has to deliver in 10 minutes, because anyway, city average speed is not more than 20 kilometers. Bangalore, it is 7 kilometers. Delhi might be a little bit more. But government has no subsidy for that. That to me is a blind spot. Of course, excuse was there. It is made by unorganized sector. They will do fraud. They don't know whether they actually made, they'll take subsidy. Okay, fine, give subsidy to the people who are buying the bike. Because there at least you can see how many bikes. There could be a mechanism. ESL could have done it. So I think there are kind of blind spots which, if the government had done it, today you will have not 4,40,000, maybe 40 lakhs. Because 3 crore people are in delivery business in some form or other. Postal department से delivery से लेके, electric bill की delivery से लेके, Swiggy Zomato delivery से लेके, Blue Dart, those are the people potentially are the first adopter, first converter. So I think government policy also has these kind of blind spots. Somehow they get pushed because motorcycle manufacturers did not want this, as you said, incumbent. नहीं ये तो सब चलेगा. So these are the kind of things which I think government, despite its best intentions, misses out. Not by design, but somehow it just misses out. So those are the kind of things, I think these are the forums where we should bring it out, where the government also has a reason and the pressure to look into it.
Sure, and just as a point to add on that, we don't want Sinha Saab to respond because I'm sure he's aware about these points, is that whatever policy is coming, because it is so unbiased, it should also be technologically agnostic, so that all technologies have the space to flower and nothing get asphyxiated in the process. But the government is already aware of that. Thank you very much for making your point. Yeah, thank you very much for making your point. It's necessary that we communicate whatever are our pain points. And I will now open the house to questions, and I will be very happy if the first question comes to Mr. Nikhil Bhatia. Yeah, please.
Hi. Actually, my question is both to Nikhil and Sinha ji. And this is kind of correlating to what Misra ji said. So what is the plan of the industry and the government in the low-speed two-wheelers versus the high-speed two-wheelers? Because more from driver safety point of view. If, let's say, there is a student driving a low-speed bike without helmet, without license, and God forbid he meets with an accident, is that the kind of product that we want to place on the Indian roads that the world will aspire for? That's what Sinha Saab, I heard you mention, that should be the goal of the industry. And is that the kind of product that the OEMs would want to invest millions in R&D, and then we want to aim to be a Tesla? Is that the way forward? What's the plan, both of the industry and the government?
So during our course of journey, right, we have shipped low-speed scooters too. And we realized 25, by CMVR law, the vehicle at 25 kmph is a motorized cycle, right? It is not a scooter. That is a space that people have been using for a while, because that allowed industry to steer forward, right? That allowed industry to move forward. From the perspective of safety, so I've been a rider over last 12 months. I've only been riding a two-wheeler, right? Either a high-speed motorcycle or testing out some new product that we are developing, or using a low-speed scooter as my daily commuter. Less than 25 kmph of speed essentially is not even sufficient for you to use, right? If you see a global ecosystem, I think when you talk about a vehicle that is supposed to be in public domain, right? Like YULU vehicles are in public domain. They need to be there. It still makes sense, right? We still feel that there can be another category in between the pure high speed, like or pure low speed, something close to 45-50 kmph top speed, right? With some regulations around homologation and safety standards. I think that will be a space that will be very well utilized and that will allow people to deliver adequate products with right safety technology, safety features, all of it. But yes, let us see that whether it goes there or not. On a longer horizon, 90% we calculate the average speed, right? We work on consumer behaviors, right? We realized I interviewed so many people who have been riding Swiggy, Zomato scooters, right? Delivering for them. Why are they not buying a product? Why are they renting out a product? They say, we work in the city for 3 months. Once we want to go to my village, like it is Rewari, about 110 kilometers away from here, how do I commute? Right? The day I find a electric motorcycle that works both for my daily earnings and for my village commute, I will buy one. Right? So we have realized the product has to be designed for much broader spectrum. I will not do 80 kmph every day, but still one day in a year I want to do 80 kmph, it has to be safe for that. Right? So when you see consumer market, you have to design for the worst case and the best case scenarios. From the low speed perspective, I think that category will go obsolete, or it will be very small mopeds for maybe closed circular loops or maybe closed circular operations. But I believe there are certain discussions happening where a category, LE1 category, globally there is a category called LE1 category, right? Where the product is 45 kmph cut-off speed, and then it falls under all safety regulations of CMVR, but still allows sufficient space for middle size, like city commuters, delivery ecosystem to have a right product fit for that space. So over to you.
Okay, so when I try to visualize that how will urban India move in a, say, time span of next 10 years. So my understanding is that public transport is going to be number one. Then that will be followed by, in fact, gradually it is being adopted also. Now, if somebody says that, how did you reach this Leela? And somebody says, I came by metro, that is accepted. But if he says, I came by bus, then you always say, bata diye hote, hum gaadi bhej dete. Because you consider that riding a bus is infra-day. While internationally, it is not like that. Nobody rather wants to know that how you reached, and they don't ask. And if you say, I came by tube, that is fair enough. It is, everybody goes by tube. So that is one thing. So public transport is going to be number one. Number two is this micro-mobility. Yes, and there YULU can has a role. Cycleways are there. So those kind of mobility will be there. Walking. Walking will be, in India also you will see that now India will start walking. Not only for their morning kind of jogging, but also for coming from their home to the workspaces. I mean, that area will be walking. And everywhere it is done. Internationally it is done. In Japan, almost I think the walking paces. That is the walking everybody does. The Nishihara, which is one of the most prominent residential district, prefecture, and to the Shinjuku, which is the central business district, like our ambience mall, this area is. Everybody walks. They have created walkways like that. So walking, micro-mobility, cycleways, of course, and aggregator-based movement. That is also going to take place. In fact, 3 kilometers from here, there is a charging hub. The charging hub has got capacity to charge 104 cars simultaneously. And that has got a combo of both slow and fast chargers. That is also one of the aggregators of Gurgaon-based aggregator. They have patronized it. So those things are there, aggregator-based. So this is how India is going to move. And of course, in the personal vehicle segment, in beyond urban areas, the two-wheelers will have, and three-wheelers. Three-wheelers, of course, comes in the public transportation stuff only. So that is what is going to do. What will not, in fact, what I am excluding is the personal vehicle. Personal vehicle will only be used as a kind of joyride, one-off kind of thing, but that will not be the normal course of use. This is how the country will be taking shape in times to come. And actually, you see, because there is no way out. There is absolutely no way out. I was calculating yesterday, some 2 kilometer jam was there on this road. And I was thinking that if all these cars, if they could be converted into buses, then probably the congestion level would reduce 1/6, practically no congestion. Just because every one person is coming in his car and they are trying to touch to Gurgaon, that is the reason why this congestion is there. So probably, as I told you, that this is how mobility is going to, and this is how we are going to promote it also. Thank you.
Great. If there's no other question, we will, there's one last question we'll take, and then we will close the session and continue the dialogue, hopefully.
Good morning, Ji. I'm audible? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
My question is to Mr. Misra.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you
ahead.
so much, sir. Very insightful, sir.
No, your voice is not coming clear.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Closer.
So, sir, when you started out, YULU, I think 3 years back, just pre-COVID, right? It was more of, I think, B2C, last mile delivery. We used to see scores of bikes around CP area. I'm from Delhi, so I was used to always think, यार पता नहीं पैसे कैसे कमाते हैं इनकी bikes, मतलब I used to see आधी कहीं खड़ी होती हैं, आधी charging stations में, and it was more of, I think, last mile delivery for the passengers. Then you came down to the more of Zomato and tied up with delivery guys, right? Then it all made sense. Like now this is something more of a kind of a proper business model, right? So did you iterate along the way, or this was the plan that, you launch YULU bikes, this is for last mile delivery, or you're going to partner up with these delivery guys? And the second part of the question is, you mentioned that you are the biggest battery swapping company in India now. Now, is the revenue structure going to be same? Like you're going to rent out bikes to all the delivery companies? Or you can also add a charging network, like open it out?
Got it.
Yeah.
So I think
Thank you.
2 point, in the hindsight, we all are geniuses, correct? We always, oh, I knew it already. Actually, we had no clue about delivery business till COVID came. That's the truth. If anybody of my company tells, oh, we are all very smart, we knew that how it will evolve, we had no clue. We became a first and last mile connectivity. Our first agreement was signed with DMRC on the request from the Secretary Mahua, because you know what he said? He said, Delhi Metro is losing money. And why is it losing money? Because the ridership is not high. And because metros become profitable when the peak hour traffic, per hour direction traffic is more than 18,000 people per hour. Delhi is 9,000 something. Nowhere in the world this kind of traffic will make money. That's why metros in India are always losing money, because everybody loves the metro, but they can't reach metro. On average in Delhi, around 350, 60 stations, 400 plus kilometer network, the best and densest network in the country. But still, Delhi Metro is losing money because average distance between metro station and your home or your destination is close to 3 plus kilometers. Now, Tokyo, I lived in Tokyo 7-8 years. You don't get the permission to build a house if you are not within 1.8, I don't know from where 1.8 came, 1.8 kilometer of public transport, either metro or bus stop, or mono or anything. You don't get the permission to build a house in the metropolitan areas. So if you have 3 kilometers, people will not use the metro, because by the time you reach there through auto or something, you will take your own scooter and car. That was the purpose YULU came to Delhi. Delhi had the best and most widest network of metro, and metro gave us the location at all metro stations. But what did not happen, the best ideas of metro and Mahua were killed by MCDs, municipal corporations of Delhi. Because at the metro you can get the bike, but in your colony, the land is owned by the the municipal corporation. North Delhi Municipal Corporation, South Delhi Municipal Corporation, New Delhi Municipal, there are 4 or 5 in Delhi. The colony resident association, they said, you please put your bikes here, because we need them. But MCD said, no, you are only managing the colony, you don't own the road. Now that was the reason the first and last mile connectivity did not pick up in Delhi. In fact, if you go to YouTube, more videos of YULU, people are doing the TikTok videos on YULU. They come from different places to make the video in CP and all that. Then the real actual first and last mile use. But then that changed. Now North Delhi has given the permission. So North Delhi, you will see people, a lot of people are using for the commute. And there are a lot of students there, there are a lot of people there. So now all the municipal corporations are going to be mixed. There will be one municipal corporation, we are working with them. But then pivot from the people mobility to the goods delivery mobility happened because of COVID. Because when people did not move, our business became zero. And initially we were thinking if we do both goods, people will feel it's almost like it's a taxi vehicle. I will not use it for personal. But then we realized that people are using it. So now when we are going, there will be different vehicles for the people mobility and personal, launching in September, October. But to answer that, yes, we will be focusing on both. First, because government will provide you the bus and metro. What government cannot do is the last mile, like Mr. Sinha ji said, the micro mobility. It has to come from private sector. It has to come from aggregators. So your auto walas are also aggregator. They have, one person has one auto, but they're aggregators. So this is how, but a lot of people do not want to sit on an auto for safety reasons, during the COVID, for the proximity reasons. So that's where micro mobility will have a role, and that's where companies like YULU, and I'm sure many more will come. As metro network grows, personal mobility, last mile, first mile connectivity will be needed. Then only you will be able to, unless metro comes within half a kilometer on average, which will take maybe 50 years. But for that, density has to be much higher, because our cities are very widespread. So that's how it will happen.
Great. So on that note, let me thank Misra Saab for, let me request him for facilitating a public awareness campaign along with the industry, which addresses credibly and captivatingly the concerns which are bound to emerge around a new technology like EVs. And we will stay engaged on that, Mishra Saab. And also let me thank first of all the audience for such a patient hearing, and please continue this dialogue on the app and find new friends on the app to discuss things, as I should also, and I am glad that I found a couple, because I am also going to lose a couple of friends. Because as Mishra Saab said, he has spoken something about my neighbors, who are my intellectual neighbors also. And very soon it is possible that my wife will say कि ये neighbor से बात नहीं करनी है, because they are you are looking for validation of your children from them and they are not very credible sources. So I'm glad I found some replacements in you all. Thank you very much for a very enlightening, enriching, entertaining panel here. And thank you Rajendra ji and Nikhil also. Thank you.